Thomas Whitmore adjusted his charcoal overcoat as he stepped out of the corporate tower into the swirling December snow. At 42, he had built Reynolds Industries from a small startup into a Fortune 500 company, but today felt different. His 7-year-old daughter, Mia, bounced beside him, her dark curls escaping from her white knitted beanie as she tried to catch snowflakes on her tongue. "Daddy, remember what you promised Mommy?" Mia asked, her breath creating small puffs in the cold air. Thomas felt his chest tighten. Before his wife Rebecca had lost her battle with cancer 8 months ago, she had made him promise something. That seemed impossible at the time. "Help someone who needs it more than we do," she had whispered from her hospital bed. "Teach Mia that our blessings are meant to be shared." "I remember, sweetheart," Thomas said, taking Mia's mittened hand. "We just haven't found the right moment yet." That moment was about to find them. As they walked through Riverside Park, gutting through to reach their favorite bakery, Mia suddenly stopped. "Daddy, look!" she whispered, pointing toward a bench tucked beneath snow-laden pine trees. A young woman sat hunched over, her blonde hair falling around her face like a curtain. She wore a grey cardigan that looked too thin for the weather, and in her arms she held what was clearly a newborn baby, wrapped in a blanket that had seen better days. Her shoulders shook, and Thomas couldn't tell if it was from the cold or from crying. "Daddy, her baby is freezing," Mia said, her voice filled with the same fierce protectiveness Rebecca had always shown for vulnerable creatures. "We have to help them." Thomas hesitated, his executive mind automatically calculating risks. But then he looked at Mia's earnest face and heard Rebecca's voice echoing in his memory. This was the moment she had been preparing them for. "Stay close to me," he told Mia as they approached the bench. The young woman looked up as they drew near. Her name was Clare, though Thomas wouldn't learn that for several minutes. At 28, she had the kind of quiet dignity that poverty hadn't been able to take away. Her blue eyes held exhaustion and weariness, but also an unmistakable love as she looked down at her sleeping infant. "Excuse me," Thomas said gently. "Are you and your baby all right?" Claire's arms tightened protectively around her child. "We're fine," she said quickly, though her voice trembled. "Just waiting for the bus." Mia stepped forward with the directness that only children possess. "There's no bus stop here," she observed, "and your baby looks really cold. My daddy has a warm car." Thomas knelt down beside the bench, speaking in the same calm tone he used during difficult board meetings. "I'm Thomas, and this is my daughter Mia. It's getting colder, and we'd like to help if you'll let us." Claire studied Thomas's face, searching for hidden motives or danger. What she saw instead was genuine concern, and a little girl who clearly cared about her baby's welfare. "I'm Clare," she said finally, "and this is Lily. She's only 2 weeks old." Mia's eyes widened with wonder. "She's so tiny." "Daddy, we have to help them right now, like Mommy would want us to." Thomas felt Rebecca's presence so strongly in that moment that he nearly looked around for her. "Claire, there's a family crisis center about 15 minutes from here," Thomas said. "They have a nursery and medical staff. Would you let us take you there?" Claire's composure cracked slightly. "I called them this morning. They won't have space until after New Year's." "Then we'll find another solution," Thomas said firmly, already pulling out his phone. "Mia's right. Little Lily needs to be warm." As Thomas gently wrapped his red wool scarf around baby Lily, Claire felt something she hadn't experienced in months. Hope. When was the last time someone had offered help without expecting something in return? The walk to Thomas's BMW was careful and slow, with Mia chattering constantly about her school, her favorite books, and how her mommy had taught her that helping people was the most important thing you could do. Claire found herself smiling despite her circumstances, touched by the child's innocent wisdom. In the heated car, as Thomas made call after call to shelters and social services, Claire finally felt safe enough to share her story. She had been a nurse before Lily was born, but complications during delivery had led to medical bills that destroyed her savings. Her boyfriend had left when the financial pressure became too much, and she'd been evicted from their apartment the week before. "Claire," Thomas said, after ending his 6th phone call, "I have a proposal, but I want you to feel completely free to say no." Claire looked at him cautiously. "What kind of proposal?" "My wife passed away earlier this year," Thomas began carefully, "and before she died, she made me promise to help someone who needed it more than we did. Our house has a guest suite that's been empty since then. You and Lily could stay there while we work out a long-term plan." Claire was quiet for so long that Mia leaned forward from her car seat. "Claire, our guest room has its own bathroom and a little kitchen, and Daddy could make sure Lily has everything she needs." "Why would you do this for strangers?" Claire asked, her voice barely audible. Thomas thought of Rebecca's final words, her insistence that love multiplies when it's shared rather than hoarded. "Because my wife taught us that we're only as rich as the lives we're able to touch," he said simply. "And because everyone deserves a safe place to care for their family." Claire looked down at Lily, who had stopped shivering now that she was wrapped in Thomas's warm scarf. "I'm a registered nurse. I could work, contribute somehow." "Contribution isn't a requirement for kindness," Thomas replied. "But if you want to help, I sit on the board of the children's hospital where my wife was treated. We're always looking for compassionate nurses who understand what families are going through." Mia clapped her hands together. "And Claire, you could teach me about taking care of babies. I've always wanted to learn." For the first time in weeks, Claire laughed. "I'm still figuring it out myself, Mia." A week later, Claire was settled into the guest suite with Lily, who was thriving in the warmth and security of their temporary home. Thomas had connected her with the chief of nursing at Rebecca's hospital, who was impressed by Claire's credentials and her story of resilience. But the most unexpected development was how naturally Claire fit into their small family. She brought a gentleness that balanced Thomas's corporate intensity, and Mia adored having a baby to help care for. "Thomas," Claire said one evening, as they sat by the fireplace while Mia read a story to baby Lily, "I got the position at the hospital. I start next month." Thomas looked up from his laptop, genuinely pleased. "That's wonderful, Claire. You'll be an incredible asset to their team." "I've also been looking at apartments," Claire continued. "I should be able to afford something small once I start working." Mia looked up from her book, distressed. "But Claire, what if baby Lily needs us? What if you need help in the middle of the night?" Thomas found himself agreeing with his daughter's concern. Over the past week, he'd come to value Claire's presence in their home. She wasn't just a house guest anymore. She was becoming a friend, someone whose strength and grace reminded him daily of Rebecca's belief in the power of compassion. "Claire," Thomas said carefully, "what if you didn't have to choose between independence and having support? What if we could figure out an arrangement that works for everyone?" Claire met his eyes, seeing the same possibility that had been growing in her own heart. "What did you have in mind?" "Mia and I have been talking," Thomas said, smiling at his daughter. "This house is too big for just the two of us, and we've both gotten used to having you and Lily here. What if you stayed, not as a guest, but as part of our family?" Mia jumped up excitedly. "Yes! Then I could help take care of Lily every day, and we could all eat dinner together, and Claire could read me bedtime stories when Daddy has to work late." Claire felt tears gathering in her eyes. "Thomas, I can't accept charity." "It wouldn't be charity," Thomas said gently. "It would be family. You'd pay your fair share, help with household responsibilities, and more importantly, you'd be helping me keep the promise I made to Rebecca." She wanted Mia to learn that our blessings multiply when we share them. Claire looked around the warm living room, at Mia cuddling baby Lily with such natural tenderness, at Thomas, whose eyes held the same kindness that had first prompted him to help a stranger on a park bench. "Are you sure?" she asked softly. Mia answered before Thomas could speak. "Daddy, tell her what Mommy always said about families." Thomas smiled, hearing Rebecca's voice as clearly as if she were sitting beside them. "She said, families aren't just about blood. They're about people who choose to love and support each other through everything life brings. As snow continued to fall outside their warm home, Claire realized that sometimes the coldest, darkest moments in our lives are actually doorways to unexpected blessings. She had found not just shelter and safety, but something she'd never dared to hope for. A chosen family built on mutual respect, shared responsibility, and love that grew naturally from caring for one another. Baby Lily cooed softly from Mia's careful embrace, and Claire knew that her daughter would grow up understanding something profound, that home isn't just a place you live. It's the people who choose to build a life together, supporting each other through whatever storms may come. Outside, the snow fell gently on the city, but inside, four hearts had discovered that the greatest warmth comes not from furnaces or fireplaces, but from promises kept and love freely given.